Okay, now we are going to prove that in case of normal good, price effect is equal to substitution effect plus income effect, and we will also prove that the same condition, price effect is equal to substitution effect plus income effect in case of inferior goods as well as in case of Giffen goods. So we have initial budget line AA, and we suppose that initial equilibrium is taking place at point E. And now if we suppose that there is fall in price of X, then budget line will shift like this. Budget line will shift like this. And we suppose that new equilibrium will take place at E1, where consumer will purchase now greater quantity of X good. Let's say it is 15 units, and at initial equilibrium E, this is the initial equilibrium. Let's say it was 5 units. So we can easily find out the price effect, and price effect is equal to 15 minus 5, which is equal to 10, because this shift was basically caused by fall in price of X, and fall in price of X has resulted in price effect with gap shown with gap between 15 and 5. Now we will draw another line which would be parallel to the budget line AB. Let's say this is point B, and to show substitution effect, this line, we will draw this line, and this budget line also shows that consumers purchasing power is kept constant, and new equilibrium must be on the new budget line, that is CC. So it can be somewhere at point E2, let's say. And now we can draw IC curve to basically show this equilibrium point, where budget line AB is tangent to the IC curve at E1, and we have to draw a single IC curve which will make basically tangency with both budget lines AA and CC. So this is IC, this is IC1, let's say, and we know that when lines are pivotal, they show price effect, and we have calculated it. When lines are parallel to each other, they show income effect. And in this graph, we can find out income effect by finding the basically finding two parallel lines. One line is basically AB, and other line is CC. These two lines are parallel to each other, and we can see that on line AB, equilibrium is taking place at E1, where quantity is basically 15. Quantity is 15, and on budget line CC, equilibrium is taking place at point E2, and we suppose that quantity is, let's say, 7 units here. Okay, now we have to find out income effect, and income effect is shown with two parallel lines. We have one combination at E2 E1, and the other combination is at E2, and quantity at E2 is 7. So 15 minus 7, 15 minus 7 is equal to, so 15 minus 7 is 8. 15 minus 7 is 8, and now we will have to find out substitution effect. For substitution effect, we know that lines cross each other, and two lines which are crossing each other in this graph are AA and CC. These are crossing each other, and equilibrium at budget line AA is at point E, where quantity is 5, and on budget line CC, equilibrium is at E2, where quantity is 7. So 7 minus 5 will give us basically substitution effect. And now if we put these values into the equation, that is price effect is equal to substitution effect plus income effect, then price effect is 10 and substitution effect is 2 and income effect is 8. So 10 is equal to 10. So we proved that price effect is collectively equal to substitution effect and income effect. अच्छा, ये केस था नॉर्मल गुड का. यहीं पे मैं थोड़ा सा आपको बता देता हूँ कि अगर यही इंफीरियर गुड का केस होता, देन ग्राफ आगे मैं बनाता हूँ इसका ग्राफ, लेकिन यहीं पे इसी ग्राफ में अगर हम देखना चाहें तो for in case of basically inferior goods, this equilibrium will just change. Other all other things will remain the same as we have shown in this graph. Only equilibrium E1 will shift somewhere at this point. ठीक है, देखिए what sequence you should follow whenever there is fall in price of x. There is fall in price of x. We have some initial budget line AA. ठीक है, and first of all you should incorporate price effect. We suppose we initial our equilibrium is at point E. If now there is fall in price of x, then budget line will shift like this. Okay, this is price effect. When budget line is shifting pivotally, it is basically price effect. And whenever there is fall in price of x and we want to show substitution effect, then we basically shift the budget line like this. So now we have to draw another budget line to show substitution effect as well. So we will make these three lines basically ना. This is P and this is CC. ठीक है, एक इक्विलिब्रियम आपका यहाँ बनेगा, एक यहाँ पे बनेगा, E1 and E2 let's say. Now we can move to the next situation that we are taking X good as an inferior good, and we are again trying to prove that price effect is equal to substitution effect plus income effect. And again we will draw a budget line, initial budget line. This is X good, X good which is an inferior good, and this is Y good, and it is some neutral good. We are not considering which type of good it is. Okay, so initial budget line we have is AA, and we suppose that initially equilibrium is taking place somewhere at point E. Now first of all, to incorporate the price effect, whenever there is fall in price of x, there will be a pivotal shift in budget line like this. And for showing substitution effect, while we draw substitution effect, we are considering that the purchasing power of consumer is kept constant. Okay, when budget line shifts to the right, it shows that purchasing power of consumer has increased. When budget line shifts from AA to AB, it shows that consumer's purchasing power has increased. If we try to keep purchasing power of consumer constant, then we will have to show substitution effect, and we will have to shift budget line to the left, completely to the left. A new budget line will look like this, which will be parallel to the budget line AB, and it will cross budget line AA, and we suppose that this is budget line CC. For substitution effect, new equilibrium should take place at somewhere at point E1, and for price effect, now price effect should take place somewhere at point E2, and again we will find out combinations. Initially consumer was, let's say, purchasing 2 units of X good, and here he is purchasing 5 units of X good, and let's say it is 8 units of X good. And now we have to draw IC curves as well to show equilibrium, and this is, let's say, IC1, and we need to draw another IC curve which will make equilibrium with both budget lines AA and CC. We will make equilibrium initially at this point, and now we will extend it, and again we will show equilibrium at, E1. This is, let's say, IC curve 2. Again we know that when two budget lines are parallel to each other, they show income effect. So in this situation, income effect would be, we know that income effect is shown with two parallel lines, and in this situation we have two parallel lines CC and AB. 5 minus 2 is equal to 3 is basically the price effect. And for substitution effect, two lines cross each other, and two lines which are crossing each other are AA and CC, and at CC equilibrium quantity is 8. Okay, so price effect in this situation is equal to 5 minus 2, which is 3, and substitution effect is 8 minus 2, which is equal to 6, and income effect is equal to 5 minus 8 is equal to minus 3. So now we can see that income effect is negative, substitution effect is positive, and price effect is also positive. Now we will put these values into our condition which we are trying to prove, that is price effect is equal to substitution effect plus income effect, and price effect is equal to 3, so put value 3, and substitution effect is equal to 6, and income effect is equal to minus 3. So 3 is equal to 6. When we will remove this bracket, then minus sign will make this plus sign negative, so 6 minus 3, so 3 is equal to 3. So we prove that price effect is equal to substitution effect plus income effect in case of inferior goods. Now we can basically flash back to the previous page, and we can see what is the difference between that graph and this graph. Okay, in this graph we can see that in case of normal good, equilibrium changes from point E to point E1 somewhere at this point, but in case of inferior good, equilibrium will change from point E to E2 at this point. अगर आप देखें तो आपका नॉर्मल गुड के केस में इक्विलिब्रियम आपका न्यू इक्विलिब्रियम प्राइस इफेक्ट के केस में यहाँ कहीं जाके बन रहा था. So this is the basically difference in two graphs. And now we have to make graph for Giffen goods which are worst quality product, and in that situation this equilibrium E2 will shift somewhere at this point. Okay, and I'm going to make this graph. So again, price of X is falling and X is considered to be the Giffen good, and we have to prove that price effect is equal to substitution effect plus income effect. Again we will have to draw axis and we have to show X good on X, which is now a Giffen good. Giffen good is basically the worst quality product, and this is Y good, which is a neutral good, and we don't know what type of good it is. We are not considering it, we are just focusing on X good. And initial budget line is, let's say, AA, and we suppose that initial equilibrium is taking place at point E. And now if there is fallen price of X, budget line will shift like this from AA to BB, because now purchasing power of consumer for X good has increased. And to show substitution effect and to show the constant purchasing power of consumers income, we will have to draw substitution effect like this. This line will be parallel to line AB, and suppose this is again line CC, and substitution effect will take place at somewhere at point E1. So we can find out combinations. Let's say it is quantity, this quantity is let's say it's 5, and this quantity is, let's say, 10. And now equilibrium for Giffen good due to fall in its price will move to point E2, and now new combination will be, quantity is, let's say this is 3, and we have to show equilibrium we have to draw indifference curves. This is IC1, and we have to draw another IC curve which will be tangent to these two budget lines, and this is, let's say, IC. And again we have to find out price effect. In this situation, price effect is equal to the effect on two pivotal lines, and equilibrium uh, on line A is at point E where quantity was 5, and on its pivotal line AB, equilibrium is taking place at E2 where quantity is 3. So we will put 3 minus 5 is equal to minus 2, and again now we will have to find out substitution effect, and substitution effect is basically the two lines which are crossing each other. Substitution effect is shown with two cross lines. So one equilibrium is taking place at E and the other one is taking place at E2 on cross lines. So this much is the substitution effect, and this is equal to 10 minus 5, which is equal to 5. And now we will have to find out income effect, and income effect is shown with two parallel lines, and in this situation two parallel lines are AB and CC. Two parallel lines are sorry, two parallel lines are A, B and C, C. These are two parallel lines, and on these two parallel lines, one equilibrium is taking place at quantity 10 and other equilibrium is taking place at quantity 3. So 3 minus 10 is equal to minus 7. So now we will put the value price effect is equal to substitution effect plus income effect, and if we put the value minus 2 in price effect, so this is minus 2, and we will put the value of substitution effect, that is 5, and plus put the value of income effect, that is minus 7. Okay, minus 2 is equal to 5, and when we will remove this bracket, this negative sign will basically multiply with plus sign will make it negative sign. So minus 7 is the final answer for it. So minus 2 is equal to 5 minus 7 will also give us minus 2. So minus 2 is equal to minus 2. So again prove that in case of Giffen goods, price effect is equal to income effect plus substitution effect.